Master Sergeant Dustin James nudged a clod of dirt into place with the toe of his boot. The rich black soil of the Portland, Oregon rose garden simply dissolved and left a blackish patch of mud on the worn leather. Today was the winter solstice. It was raining and about 3 degrees above freezing. Pretty typical. He stared down at the Rosa canina. This rose had been propagated from a cutting of the oldest documented rose bush on the planet. The rose now huddled, dormant and pruned back for the winter. In bloom, it was the least assuming rose in the garden, a single layer of 5 pink petals around a yellow center. 4 days before Christmas, it was a cluster of frosty twigs decorated with bright red rose hips. Most people passed it by, but not his father, the head gardener of the nearby Japanese rose garden. He had visited the rose every day after work on his walk home. Dusty and his mother had often walked up to meet him at the old briar rose. "I met your mother by this rose. We married, right here." Being a man of few words, his father never embellished the story. It wasn't the most scenic spot in the garden, but with 10,000 rose bushes in a couple hundred neatly tended beds, not bad either. The fact that they'd married here on the winter solstice when nothing bloomed had been a little odd perhaps, but then his parents had been rather eccentric. Dusty had come home for this Christmas even though his parents had been gone for 3 years. Their small condo now lay empty most of the year due to a crashed tourist helicopter. An old Bell 206 called in an engine failure and then auto-rotated right into an Icelandic volcano. No survivors. That Dusty was a crew chief and mechanic on a Sikorsky Blackhawk for the U.S. Army's 160th SOAR had made the loss beyond ironic. His job was to fly, fight, and keep the Special Operations Aviation Regiment choppers running perfectly despite war conditions. His parents had died, probably from a broken fan belt. So, any time that he was home, but especially on the winter solstice, he made a point of coming to visit their rose, as his parents had done so often for their 3 decades together. "I'm glad you went together. At least you got that much," he told the sleeping rose. With no ashes to scatter, he'd gathered some ash from the volcano and scattered that upon the rose's soil. His parents belonged together here. His father, a quiet man who loved visiting the garden's roses, such a contrast to his artistic Japanese garden, and his wild mother, a true child of the 60s, who had never understood Dusty's choice to serve. They appeared such an oddly matched couple, the slight Eurasian and the tall, busty blonde. "She brings me to life like the spring warmth. He keeps me steady with his deep roots." When would Dusty find that? His own dreams had just been pruned back hard. He'd found out, on no notice, that he had a week's leave. He'd rushed back to Portland, only to discover that Nancy had meant to dear Dusty him, but forgotten, as usual, to follow through. Another woman who hadn't understood his need to serve his country, his need to protect that which was so precious. She was living with some software geek named Ralph. Dusty's few friends still in the area were busy with pre-holiday family stuff. Some invited him over for a meal, but being a third wheel in some other couple's holiday wasn't his first choice, nor his second, or third. On call, Dusty really didn't have time to go anywhere else. The cry of pain echoing across the garden snapped him out of his damp reverie. His Special Forces training had him sprinting down the garden path before he even fully registered what was happening.